Previously on Discovering the You.
I mean, men would do crazy things, give me crazy things,
Yeah.
and they don't know if I'm a male or a female. And then when I transition, looking at my teenage years, boy, in school, while I was bullied, I was also a bully. You know, outside of high school, in the dance hall, in that level of drugs, all kind of.
There is smoke too.
I do everything.
Wow! You did smoke?
Me smoke, me do everything.
Wow.
That you could think of.
No, we can understand because I always say this down. When someone had a very interesting life before Christ, it actually shows in their passion for Christ. Hey guys, welcome back to Discovering the You podcast. Of course, you know my name is Bikian. For those who don't know me, and for those who are returning resident, thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Thank you. We see you, we love you, and we appreciate you. They have a saying that anything nice, we do it twice. And so, with that said, today I have with me my awesome guest who light up the whole place last time, to share with me because they're parts of her story that you did not hear. And I believe that it's very important that you hear that part of the story. So I bring her back today to tell us the rest of it. Welcome to Discovering the Minister Anja.
Great afternoon, Minister Nikki, and you are
You're welcome. All right. Yes. All right. So last time we had a very passionate discussion about your journey as a believer, as a child of God, how you got saved and the whole process of it. But what you didn't share with us is the backsliding part of the story. So we're going to pick up at that segment today. We talk about when you got saved, how you did drugs and all of the things, and then, but we didn't talk about when you backslide and what God did for you. So talk to us about that.
wow. So it was, I believe, if my memory serves me right, but so the last time I said that I was saved from my son was 5. My journey before Christ, I talk about like 31 years old.
Wow.
Yes,
You're saved that long?
I got saved when my son was about 5.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
5. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't true. That was not true. Was not correct.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a while.
Yes.
A while. My son was about 9.
Okay.
Yes.
9 not
years.
5 years.
So it would have been probably a bit over 20 years. But however, I backslid in about the 3rd year.
Oh.
So I was attending the church that I got baptized, of course, and was never active. It was just attending.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like here where I'm at now.
Yes.
So I was just attending and all of that. But one day I was at work and I got a call from the youth leader, and he wanted me to do devotion and share at the youth meeting that Thursday. So I said, I didn't say no, but I still didn't say yes. But because in my head I was saying, what am I going to do? What am I going to share? What is it that I'm going to say in a setting with young people like myself? Anyways, before that I would have gotten a vision. The Lord seemed to be talking to me a lot in those days, and I realized when I looked back at it, I said, "But Lord, did I really talk to me?"
Yes.
Because I would have gotten a vision of me going back into the dance hall because I've always had a passion. I said, Lord, because I didn't get saved in a church, I always want to go back to where I was to do that ministry, to do that evangelism or talk to people.
Okay, so you always wanted to go back to minister to the people.
Back. Okay, right. Okay. It was always like that for me. So I got a dream about a club, going back to a club. I would have called a couple persons from that same church that I would have known. A few of them would have said, no, whatever, and all of that. Anyway, I didn't go. I didn't go back into the club. I didn't do nothing of that sort. So I would have said, okay, this would be a good thing to share. And then there was somebody on my job who I considered to be an atheist. That morning that they called me to do that for them, she came in, what mad up to me, Andrew, every day you come in here and talk about God. If God loved me so much, why is it that he would have want me kill myself?
Wow.
So I say, excuse you, girl, what you mean?
Yeah.
And I got that are you. So she
Yeah.
told me that she stepped out in front of a vehicle and she started to cry and whatever. And I took her into the restroom and she told me that she learned that morning that her boyfriend for 7 years was married.
Wow.
Yes. So I ended up praying with her and I explained the whole thing of the dynamics of the enemy. Little did I knew then.
Yes, yes.
And its enemy is not God because God does love her, but the fact that she didn't do it, it means that God was preserved her and protected her and all of that, protected her from herself. I said, okay, that would be a good thing to talk about and all of that. Anyway, I went to the youth meeting, of course, and I shared the vision and I shared what happened the morning of whatever. If there was 100 persons in that youth meeting, everybody ganged me. Everybody ganged upon me, said that the Lord can't talk to me. The Lord not do this. The Lord not do that. And the one because scripture with me know me. I said the word say to go out into the world and whatever. So are you telling me, say God? So they were against you sharing. They said that the Lord can't talk to you. The Lord can't talk to me. And the Lord will send me back in a club and and all sort of thing. And I stood there. But there was this one guy. That one guy, I'll never forget him either because he was always visiting and always calling and stuff like that. He kind of tried to defend me, but then it was just one out of the many persons that were there. And there was a lot of youth leaders that were there. And all of them were saying this and that. I said, and I left that session really, I felt defeated in a sense. I said, okay, so I'm serving God and they are telling me that God can't talk to me. So how can you have a relationship with someone who can't talk to you? That don't make sense. That didn't make no sense. Because initially, I believe that based on your story that you shared last time, you heard him. I heard him. Yes. So to hear these senior people or these more mature people going against that, I say, okay, so this God thing of foolishness then. But do you normally start? I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you know that in some churches, that is what they are now? Only certain people can hear that voice. And I think the traditional churches, I'm not coming for you guys. That is all they are. The pastor hear God and probably the evangelists are a couple of the ministers, but never the members. Yes. And the Bible said, my sheep hear my voice and they know me. So if you become a sheep, more than likely you're going to hear your shepherd voice. Continue. Yes. Nevertheless, that was my last day at that place. Wow. You never walk at the church? Never been. I went back there, I think, when I came, but it was a funeral. Deaconess mother died or aunt died, and the person used to attend that same place. So that's why I went back there. And that was like years after. Never been back to that place except that one time. But my children I still send them to Sunday school. Still send them to Sunday school there and all of that. Anyway, went back to my old ways, all of this foolishness, all of that crap went back to the old ways. But I was coming from I don't remember where, but I was coming from somewhere and I was in Spanish Town and I saw this green Camry parked along the way. It was over more to LOJ Plaza, that is where it was. And I was standing more across from LOJ, myself and a friend of mine. And the man was calling me. I mean, I said to them, man, yeah, because you don't know you're going back to your old ways and all of that good jazz and thing. Anyway, they were persistent, so I walked over to the vehicle. When I walked over to the vehicle, the man in the vehicle, there was two men in the front, and when I looked in the back, there were two females in the back. The driver said, why are you not in church? I said to the brother, I said, people like gonna do what it's what is, I said what is. So like everything flowed back into my head of that interaction, that service, and him asking me why am I not in church? I said, me, people like gonna why, XYZ. Anyway, he kept on talking and I kept on rebutting. Because I was a little as I said, I went back into the old sassy. Yes. So he introduced himself and whatever, and he told me about his church and all of that. And he invited me there. Honestly, I did not go. I listened to them and, that was it. However, about 3 months after that conversation, I decided that I was going to visit the old church, not that church. Oh, so the invitation that you received, no, you ignored it. But I said I was going to go back. I was there one morning. I said, no, I'm going to go back to that church. So I was in the vehicle with my kids. At the time I wasn't driving, I was in the taxi. And I asked the taxi man to stop to let out the children. And he turned off, let out the children, and said, you know what? Cassie man Kimali go on, I'm going to come back for you. And I told the driver where I was going. The taxi stopped at the club down, the place down there, so where worship and faith used to be. The moment I step out of the vehicle, up here about me about, and I said, what, Mr. Bella, cause Mr. Bella, I'm done earlier. I was just acting. They said, why are you crying? I was going up the stairs and I kept on crying. I don't remember her name right now, but I know Nadia Watkins was one of the persons that was outside greeting the persons that were coming in, and they greeted me and they asked me if I'm okay, and I said, I don't know what is happening, whatever. When I went into the service, it was not the apostle of the church or the bishop or the pastor. It was Evangelist Valentine Rodney that was preaching in that service that I attended the church. And I listened, but at the end of that service, he said, find somebody and pray with. Yeah. One of the ladies that was in the vehicle, she came over to me and she started to pray for me. And she was praying about marriage, she was praying about family, she was praying about a lot of things. And at the end, I said, lady, you know me? Oh, and I started to look around the place. I said, who in this place know me? I was just looking around who knew me. Hold it. No, because this is interesting, you did not leave home to go to there. Church, but you came out of the vehicle and started crying. Conviction immediately. Guys, listen to me now, man. Listen to me. Hey, this is so huge. You step out of the car and immediately God arrested your heart. That's so powerful. And then now, separate and apart from all of that, you went into the service, someone is praying for you, and start talking about your life and everything. And she said, she was kind of explaining about the spirit, telling her. And that person is Minister Winsome McLean. Wow. Yes, it was her. So she said, she said to me, this is her exact word, she said to me, even now, the Lord is still talking to me about you, and He told me to tell you that this was a club. Wow. So, if we're getting it correctly, you dream about a club. It's just wanting to go back to the ministry evangelist into the club. But this was where God was sending you to the club, and then God used this woman of God to tell you, oh my, hey. That's a big deal, And this is why I strongly believe in the prophetic spirit of discernment and God using people. So when they tell you that God can't talk to you, no, you come to another church where God is literally talking to you. Affirming me to tell me. And I've started to tell her about the vision that I got. I didn't tell her about the church, but I told her about the vision that I got. And then she started to explain to me, based on my level at the time, I was a baby Christian. Next time when I get vision like this, just talk to the Lord, ask Him questions, because it could be that this is where He was sending me to be. Initially, but the misinterpretation of the vision. But I was about to say something, but I didn't know. I remember the apostle called me on Monday. Yes. Based on something that I said in a session Sunday night. And he said, daughter, don't say it that way again. So I'm going to use it this way. In that moment, I realized that God was really talking to me. But then also in that moment, I was saying, God, were you the one who moved me from that place to put me where you wanted me to be? So even in my backsliding state, that is when I realized that, and I'm talking to a backslider now, that's when I realized that He is really married to the backsliders, and He will really come after you. So you need to be sensitive when He's coming after you. Because how could it be that I'm in my backsliding state and I'm coming from wherever that I'm coming from, and that green camera would have been parked up over there. Yes, to call, and then they called for you. They called for me. And because I would have gone back to my old self, it means that I would have been somewhat interested to go to those men. Yeah. Because it was two men that was in front of that vehicle. So what I'm getting, all right. Well,
Welcome back, guys. So, Minister Andrea, based on what you shared earlier, the green camera parked in the right place at the right time. And the men of God, they didn't hesitate. They called for you. God called you through them. So God literally set you up, even though it wasn't his will for you to have backslidden then, but because he loves you, he would have positioned them in that place so they could minister to you. And then you went to the church, you said earlier, where you know based on that story. Talk to me.
So where I'm at now, I'm blooming where I'm planted. No, but for real, it's really a redirection.
Yeah.
Because it's not a coincidence that in Spanish Town that night, that Sunday morning,
Wasn't a coincidence.
it's not a coincidence.
Because based on the vision that you shared and the place that the church was at and how you saw them in parked up over there, that was not a coincidence. And when God really wants to get your attention, he knows exactly how to get your attention.
And that's exactly what he did. And I must bless God. Where am I now? I'm really where I should be, where I'm growing, I'm maturing, and I'm doing the work of the Lord.
Of an evangelist.
I'm doing the work of the Lord. If he's asking me for more, yes. It's just for me to step outside of my, I don't want to even say comfort zone,
But a little fear is there.
But a little thing is happening there, because while he's showing me what I'm supposed to do and I move towards it, there's something that say, do something great over there. So and I know that is something that is pulling me back. But I believe that I'm in the right place to make everything that the Lord has for me and what he wants me to do to happen.
Yeah.
And I want to let somebody know also, it is important, it is very, very important to be where God wants you to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes people, because the church next door, they go there. That's not where the Lord wants you.
Not true. Not true at all. She's telling the truth though. So sometimes God don't want you to act. And I'm a testimony of that because I've been in a church for many years and I'm not going against, because even though there are certain things that I didn't do in that church, but I learned something from them. So I'm not going against or beating any church, but I couldn't grow. I was stunted. I just couldn't grow. I was at the same level all the time.
Yeah.
And so I realized that when God really have a purpose upon your life, he will put you in the company, like Saul, who prophesied when he was in the company of prophets. God will put you in the company of people who are of like-mindedness. So you are not every crowd. And some of us, how we are, is that God talk to me, but because of sentiment. Sentiment and so tied to. Some of us were so tied to these people, we cannot move on. And year after year after year just passing us by. 1 year, one another year. And nothing is coming from our life. And then we make excuse. Oh, I'm waiting on the Lord. He's waiting on you. And he's literally telling you to move on. What if you had gone back to that church? You say you drop off your kids them. And you said to them, what, go inside and come back for you guys. And then you went to the church that God really wanted. Minister Andrea, bless God for your life. Because let me just say this, Minister Andrea is very passionate. I said it the last time, passionate about souls. And she's not just passionate, but she loves people. She really loves people. And she gives people her time. So she's not one who's always rushing. She, even with me, she not rush. She not rush. She give you her time and she makes sure she's guiding. And that is beautiful. So thank you for your yes to the Lord. Thank you for your yes. Yeah. So anything you want to say before we close this podcast?
It's a hunger.
Talk about it, Minister.
It's a hunger. Always be in a place. Don't come out of a place where you're not hungry for the Lord. May I tell you, just be hungry for the Lord and the things of the Lord.
Yes.
For a backslider who's returning today, because I strongly believe that there's someone that is going to recommit to the Lord. Just keep your hunger level up.
Yes.
Keep your hunger level up, because hunger for Him. Because what I've come to realize, that in this walk, the enemy will use people beside you, around you, all in the places that you least expect it to happen, to kind of discourage you.
Especially people who are in authority.
Especially those that are in authority. So you have to ensure that your hunger level for the Lord is up there.
Yes.
Just keep your hunger level up. And just keep loving Jesus. Keep loving Jesus. Keep loving Jesus and fearing Him. And let me explain the reverential fear of the Lord.
Amen.
To make us be obedient all the time. I'm not 100% obedient, but
you're trying your best.
I'm pushing, and I'm really trying my best to really be obedient and to do everything that He wants me to do.
Amen. All right, that's it. Give your heart to the Lord. Surrender to Jesus. Come back home. The door is open. It was never shut. God never closed it. So walk through that door. Give your heart to the Lord. It's time. If any man hear His voice, do not harden your heart. I always tell people, it doesn't matter where you hear the message from, God talking to you. God is speaking. Okay? So you don't have to be on a pulpit. Yeah. So, God bless you. Until next time, my name is Nikian. Share, like, repost. God bless you all the best.
Tonight's the night for the sinners and the saints.